I never thought a single knock on my door could unravel everything I thought I knew about myself. That morning, the house smelled of cinnamon and pine, a festive aroma that usually made me feel cozy, not exposed. But when the knock came, 3 soft, deliberate raps, I froze. The envelope on the doorstep wasn't addressed to me, yet I felt a strange tug, a whisper that maybe it was. Inside, a note in elegant, looping handwriting read, "Your Christmas surprise awaits, but only if you're brave enough to dress for it." I laughed nervously, thinking it was a prank for my friends. Yet the handwriting, the way the ink shimmered under the morning light, made my heartbeat stutter. And then I saw it, a small, velvet pouch tied with a satin ribbon. Inside, delicate satin gloves, a frilly apron, and a note. "Naughty Sissy helpers always make Christmas brighter." My fingers trembled as I held them. Something deep inside me stirred, a mix of fear and curiosity that I couldn't name. I had always loved cute things, the kind of delicate, whimsical clothes that seemed meant for someone else, someone braver than me. But seeing them now, in my own hands, I felt a strange, aching pull, a magnetic invitation I couldn't resist. I tried to shrug it off, to return them to the envelope, but my reflection in the window caught me mid-motion. The sunlight made my shadow look softer, almost feminine, and I realized my heart was racing because a part of me had been waiting for this. I could feel it, that shy, secret part of me that had always admired ribbons and lace, now fluttering wildly. By the time I slipped the gloves onto my hands, I wasn't entirely sure I was doing it for anyone but myself. And yet, there was a thrill in imagining someone watching me, someone who would smile at the sight of me transformed, delicate, and utterly unexpected. The apron tied snugly around my waist felt foreign yet right, like a second skin I didn't know I needed. A sudden chime from the living room startled me. Through the doorway, the Christmas tree twinkled with lights, casting dancing shadows that made the room feel enchanted. It was then I noticed a small tag hanging from one of the ornaments. "Go find the mirror, darling. See who you truly are." I hesitated, every instinct screaming to stop, to run, to hide from whatever revelation awaited. But my feet moved anyway, almost as if the house itself was guiding me. I reached the mirror and froze. Staring back at me was someone familiar, yet undeniably different. My own reflection seemed softer, delicate, almost alive in a new way. The gloves, the apron, even the subtle curl of my hair under a simple ribbon, it all transformed me into someone I hadn't dared to be. Someone who existed quietly in the corners of my imagination, now stepping forward boldly. A shiver ran down my spine, a mix of fear, exhilaration, and wonder. I didn't know what came next, but I knew one thing. This Christmas would be unlike any other. And somehow, somewhere, I felt that the naughty sissy helper I had just become might be the bravest version of me yet. The reflection in the mirror didn't just show a different version of me, it seemed to see through me, peeling back layers I hadn't acknowledged even to myself. I traced a finger along the frilly edge of the apron, feeling the soft fabric like a secret revelation against my skin. My own heartbeat sounded loud, almost echoing in the quiet of the room, and I realized I was holding my breath, terrified and exhilarated at the same time. I hadn't expected the change to feel so real. Each movement felt amplified, each gesture tinged with a new kind of elegance. I twisted my wrist experimentally, the gloves sliding perfectly over my hands, the satin catching the light in little sparks that made my chest tighten. My mind raced with questions. Who am I when no one is watching? Who am I if I let myself be seen like this? Then came a knock, softer this time, almost playful, and I froze again. My stomach fluttered like I was a teenager sneaking into forbidden territory. I wasn't sure if I wanted to open the door or if I wanted to hide behind this new reflection, letting it hold me safely in its fragile perfection. But curiosity won, as it always does. Opening the door, I found a small tray perched on the threshold, covered in a red velvet cloth. Gingerbread cookies shaped like tiny bows and hearts peeked out from beneath, and a tiny note sat on top. Even helpers deserve a treat. My hands shook as I lifted a cookie, marveling at the intricacy. I had never really indulged in cute things for myself, not like this. Somehow, everything about this day, the lights, the scents, the clothes, even the little notes, felt like it was crafted specifically for me, like some magical world had bent reality just to coax me out of hiding. I sat on the couch, savoring the cookie, and let my mind wander. Memories surfaced. Childhood afternoons sneaking into my sister's dress-up box, lingering too long over ribbons and sparkling hair clips, feeling a thrill I had buried under layers of practicality and fear of judgment. I hadn't realized I missed it, not just the clothes, but the freedom to be that part of myself without apology. And now, with the apron snug and gloves pristine, that long-suppressed part of me was stretching, yawning awake like it had been waiting years for permission. But even as the excitement bubbled, anxiety crept in. What if someone saw me? What if I was judged? What if this isn't who I really am, and I'm just playing pretend? I stared at my reflection again. The mirror didn't lie, but it didn't answer either. I wanted it to, craved it almost, to tell me I was allowed to exist in this form, to whisper that my curiosity wasn't wrong, that my delight wasn't shameful. Instead, it simply showed me, and that was both terrifying and liberating. I tried standing, moving gracefully as if the apron and gloves had given me some hidden knowledge. My reflection followed my every motion, fluid, alive, enchanting. Each step felt like a secret dance, a silent declaration of identity I hadn't dared speak out loud. The world outside might have scoffed, but here, in this room, I could let myself shimmer. A sudden jingle of bells startled me, and my heart jumped. I looked toward the window. Snow had started to fall, delicate flakes drifting lazily against the glow of the streetlights. The sight was almost cinematic, a perfect frame for the surreal day I was experiencing. And then, nestled in the snow by the porch, I noticed a small sack tied with a golden ribbon. My name was written neatly on a tag. Step 2 of your adventure awaits. The call of it was irresistible. My fingers itched to untie the ribbon, to uncover the contents, to see what part of me was going to be revealed next. Part of me hesitated. What if it pushed me too far? But another, louder, more urgent part whispered, "This is who you are. Step forward." When I opened the sack, my eyes widened. Inside were layers of clothes I had never dared wear, pastel dresses with delicate lace trim, stockings soft as clouds, and tiny accessories that seemed to hum with a kind of joy I had never recognized. I couldn't believe it. This wasn't just dress up. This was an invitation to become. And in that moment, a strange clarity struck me. The nervous energy, the thrill, the hesitation, it wasn't fear or weakness. It was growth. Every fabric, every ribbon, every carefully chosen detail was a step toward accepting a part of myself I had long denied. I could feel the invisible chains loosening as I touched the silky skirts, ran my hands over the bows, traced the seams like a cartographer mapping new territory. I changed, slowly, reverently, letting each piece transform not just my appearance but my mind, my posture, even the rhythm of my breathing. I looked in the mirror again, and the reflection smiled. Not at me, not through me, but with me. And for the first time in my life, I realized that bravery wasn't loud or aggressive. It was delicate. It was soft. It was wearing frilly aprons in a quiet room and still feeling whole. I sat back, letting the skirt spill around me, the gloves immaculate, the ribbon tied perfectly in my hair. I could hear the faint tinkle of bells outside and the whisper of snowflakes against the window. And in the quiet, I understood. This was just the beginning. The rest of my journey, the challenges, the unexpected encounters, the moments of doubt and triumph, they were all waiting. But for now, I was here, fully present, fully myself, a naughty sissy helper in the most innocent, wondrous sense of the words. And a small, secret thrill told me that Christmas had never been this magical, not in stories, not in movies, not in any memory I had. The snow outside had turned the world into a soft, muffled wonderland, but inside, My heart pounded like a drum I couldn't control. I had never felt so exposed and alive at the same time. Each piece of clothing I had just tried on seemed to hum with its own energy, coaxing out a side of me I had hidden, even for myself. I realized that the reflection staring back from the mirror was no longer just a fantasy. It was a version of me I wanted to meet, to nurture, to understand. I decided to take a small step, the living room. My house was empty for the day, giving me the perfect stage. I moved carefully, letting the skirt sway with each step, feeling the soft stockings brush against my skin. The gloves glided over my hands, a reminder that every motion could be deliberate, graceful, even playful. And yet, despite the comfort, a creeping anxiety tugged at me. What if someone unexpectedly walked in? What if I wasn't ready for anyone else to see this version of me? I heard the faintest creak from upstairs and froze. My mind spun with scenarios, some ridiculous, some terrifying. What if a neighbor knocks? What if a friend calls and catches me like this? My stomach tightened, a knot of fear and anticipation, but another voice, quieter yet insistent, reminded me, "You've waited for this moment your whole life." That tiny voice, long ignored, now roared softly in my chest. I settled onto the couch, the skirt spread around me like a soft cloud. I caught sight of myself in the mirror across the room again. This time, I studied the details, the curl of my hair beneath the ribbon, the faint blush creeping at my cheeks, the way my shoulders seemed narrower, softer. Every small feature felt like a secret gift, an acknowledgement from the universe that I was allowed to exist in this form. My hands, gloved and elegant, traced the edges of the skirt as though confirming it was real, that I hadn't imagined this transformation. And then it happened, a sudden, thrilling idea. I had been living quietly, hiding desires and quirks, always careful not to reveal the parts of me that didn't fit the expected mold. But now, wrapped in lace and ribbons, I wondered what it would be like to let someone else see this side of me. Not in a reckless, brash way, but slowly, playfully, as if teasing the world with the truth of who I was. I couldn't help but smile, a tiny, mischievous curl of lips that made my cheeks ache from warmth. The thought of stepping outside, even briefly, filled me with both dread and exhilaration. Could I really be brave enough to show this side of me to the world? A soft jingle interrupted my thoughts. My gaze shot toward the window, where a shadow flitted across the falling snow. At first, I thought it was my imagination, but then the shadow solidified into a small figure leaving a note on the doorstep. My heart raced as I dashed to retrieve it, careful not to spill the tray of cookies I had been savoring. The note was short but teasing. Step 3 requires courage. Are you ready to meet your fellow helpers? I sank onto the couch again, mind spinning. Fellow helpers? Were there others like me, hidden, waiting for this same kind of revelation? The idea thrilled me, but also terrified me. I had always assumed I was alone in this fascination, this love of delicate things, of transformation, of stepping into a softer, brighter version of myself. And yet, the note suggested a world I hadn't dared to imagine, a community, a shared joy, a mirror of my own longing reflected in someone else. For a long moment, I simply breathed. The gloves still snug, the ribbon perfectly in place, the skirt swaying gently with the movement of my legs. The room felt suspended in magic, the twinkling Christmas lights casting patterns across the floor, the faint scent of cinnamon and pine wrapping around me like a protective cocoon. I realized that the fear, the anticipation, the thrill, they were all signs that I was exactly where I was supposed to be. I spent the next hour preparing. Each accessory was chosen with care, each ribbon tightened and retied until it felt just right. I practiced small gestures in the mirror, movements that made me feel delicate but confident, playful but grounded. I even tried different expressions, soft smiles, curious glances, mischievous tilts of the head, exploring the range of this new persona that was no longer pretend. It was me, layered and multifaceted, just waiting for the courage to step out into the light. Finally, I approached the front door. The snow had stopped, leaving a crisp, sparkling blanket over the world outside. I paused, hand on the doorknob, and took a deep breath. For the first time, I didn't feel the urge to hide. The world could see me or not, it didn't matter. What mattered was that I had finally met the part of myself I had long denied. And if anyone could see it, I would be ready. I opened the door. The night air was sharp and cold, brushing against my face through the soft curls of my hair. At the edge of the porch, I saw a small cluster of figures, each one dressed in playful, delicate clothes similar to mine. Their faces lit up when they saw me, welcoming and knowing, and in that instant, every shred of fear melted away. I realized then that this was only the beginning, not just of a magical Christmas adventure, but of a journey towards self-acceptance, joy, and connection I had never dared to imagine. And standing there, surrounded by twinkling lights, gentle snow, and newfound companions, I felt a surge of happiness so pure it almost made me cry. This was my life now, fragile yet fearless, soft yet unshakably real. And the journey was just beginning. They were waiting for me just beyond the porch, a small, vibrant group of fellow helpers, each one uniquely adorned in pastel skirts, ribbons, and playful aprons. Their faces glowed with warmth and mischief, as if they had been expecting me all along. For a heartbeat, I froze. I'm really doing this. I'm really standing here, in the snow, dressed like this, with strangers who somehow feel like family. One of them stepped forward, a gentle smile lighting her face. "You made it," she said softly, her voice wrapping around me like a comforting blanket. She held out a hand, encouraging, not commanding, and something inside me shifted. The fear, the hesitation, the shame I had carried for years, it didn't vanish completely, but it became smaller, more manageable. I placed my gloved hand in hers, feeling an electric jolt of recognition, a wordless acknowledgement that I was no longer alone. They guided me down the snow-covered path to a small clearing behind the house, illuminated by strings of golden lights and the faint glow of lanterns. It was magical, almost surreal, like stepping into a hidden Christmas world that existed only for people brave enough to accept themselves. I couldn't stop staring, absorbing every detail, the glittering ornaments dangling from low branches, the delicate scarves wrapped around tiny wooden statues, the laughter that bubbled like warm cocoa in the crisp night air. "Each of us started somewhere," another helper said, her eyes twinkling. "And every step we take is a little braver than the last." She gestured to a circle formed by the others. "Tonight, we celebrate the courage to be seen." I hesitated at first, unwilling to step fully into the circle, worried someone would judge me or laugh. But then I remembered the feeling in front of the mirror earlier, the thrill of realizing that this version of me, delicate, playful, radiant, was real and deserved to exist. I stepped forward, skirt brushing the snow, ribbon bobbing lightly with each movement, and immediately, the warmth of the circle embraced me. We began with small gestures, handshakes, light touches on the shoulder, playful twirls, each action reinforcing a sense of belonging I had never known. It was strange, exhilarating, and oddly grounding. I could feel my body adjusting, my posture softening, my movements becoming more natural. Each smile and nod from the others was a silent permission. You are allowed to be you. But the night wasn't only about comfort. As we moved deeper into the clearing, an unexpected challenge emerged. A wind swept through the trees, carrying with it a chill that made the delicate fabrics of our clothes flutter violently. One of the younger helpers shivered, and suddenly I felt a surge of responsibility, a protective instinct I hadn't anticipated. I wrapped my arms around her shoulders, and in that simple act, something inside me solidified. Being a helper wasn't just about playfulness or appearance. It was about empathy, courage, and connection. Then came the test of courage I hadn't seen coming. A small wooden stage at the center of the clearing was draped with twinkling lights, and a sign read, "Show your true self." The circle encouraged me to step forward. My pulse raced, fear and excitement twisting together like a ribbon. My mind shouted, "You can't." What if you stumble? What if you're too ridiculous? But the memory of the mirror, the velvet gloves, the apron tied just so, and the eyes of the helpers filled with warmth and trust gave me strength. I took a deep breath and stepped onto the stage. The snow crunched beneath my shoes, the lights reflected in my ribbon, and for the first time, I allowed myself to smile fully, without restraint. I twirled slowly, feeling the fabric of my skirt spin around me, the gloves sliding lightly against my hands, the warmth of the lanterns painting golden patterns on my skin. I realized then that bravery wasn't the absence of fear, it was choosing to move forward in spite of it. Each movement, each subtle flourish, was a declaration. I exist, I am allowed, and I am beautiful in my truth. The other helpers cheered softly, clapping and laughing, their joy infectious. I felt tears prick at the corners of my eyes, not from sadness, but from the overwhelming rush of acceptance and validation. For years, I had been hiding, shrinking, pretending to be someone else. And now, under twinkling lights and falling snow, I was alive in a way I hadn't imagined possible. As the night deepened, we shared stories, small victories, and little fears. Everything from the first time we dared to wear pastel gloves to the challenges of expressing ourselves in a world that often misunderstands. Each story resonated with mine, a tapestry of courage, vulnerability, and playful rebellion against rigid expectations. And as I listened, I felt my own journey settle into something steady and certain. I understood, fully, that transformation wasn't just about what the world could see. It was about what I allowed myself to feel, to embrace, to nurture. It was about joy, curiosity, and daring to step into the light, even if only for a single, magical Christmas night. And as the circle closed around me, the snow sparkling under lantern light, I realized something profound. This wasn't just an adventure or a fleeting thrill. It was the first chapter of a life I was finally brave enough to live. The circle had quieted, the soft crackle of lanterns mingling with the distant whistle of the wind through the trees. I felt a strange, suspended stillness, as if the world had pressed pause just for us. The snowflakes drifting lazily around us sparkled like tiny stars, catching in my hair, settling on my gloves and skirt. I caught my reflection in a small mirror one of the helpers had brought, and for the first time, I didn't just see myself. I saw the journey etched in every delicate line of my posture, every confident curve of my smile. Then came the unexpected surprise. One of the helpers, her voice playful and conspiratorial, handed me a tiny, velvet-wrapped box. "For the bravest helper tonight," she said. My fingers trembled as I untied the ribbon, revealing a delicate hairpin shaped like a snowflake, glimmering with tiny crystals. I felt an electric thrill, a rush of warmth I couldn't explain. It wasn't just a gift, it was recognition, validation, a tangible symbol of the part of myself I had long hidden. As I pinned the hairpin into my curls, I felt a shift inside me. Every fear, every hesitation, seemed to melt away under the glow of acceptance and camaraderie. I twirled slowly, letting the skirt sway and the gloves slide lightly along my arms. The sensation was intoxicating, not because of how I looked, but because of how it made me feel alive, whole, and undeniably myself. A playful challenge arose suddenly. One of the younger helpers, mischievous and bright-eyed, pointed toward a small snow-covered path leading deeper into the forest. "Race you to the tree," she called, darting off with a swirl of pastel fabric. My heart jumped, part laughter, part panic. My skirt wasn't made for running, but the thrill of the moment was irresistible. I sprinted after her, laughter spilling from me, skirt flaring, gloves catching the light, snow crunching underfoot. For the first time, I felt completely unrestrained, free from self-consciousness, lost in pure joy. When we reached the massive evergreen at the heart of the clearing, the group had gathered, each of us breathless and sparkling under a sky full of stars. The tree was adorned with twinkling lights and delicate ornaments, but what caught my eye most was a single ribbon hanging low, shimmering in the lantern glow. I stepped forward, curious, and discovered a note tucked within it. The bravest hearts shine brightest. Tonight, we are all lights. It hit me then, a wave of emotions so profound it made my chest ache. This was more than costumes or playful transformation. It was recognition. It was acceptance. It was the first time in my life I felt that being myself, fully, whimsically, unapologetically, was not just allowed, but celebrated. I gazed around the circle of helpers, each one smiling, laughing, sharing stories of triumphs and fears. And I realized, for the first time, I wasn't just exploring a playful fantasy. I was part of something larger, a community bound not by expectations, but by courage, authenticity, and joy. Each ribbon, skirt, and glove was a thread weaving us together into a tapestry of celebration and belonging. A soft bell chimed in the distance, signaling the approach of midnight. The air was crisp, magical, electric with anticipation. We joined hands in a loose circle around the tree, and I felt my pulse sink with the quiet rhythm of the night. Together, we whispered our hopes for the coming year, small secrets, dreams, and confessions we had never dared voice. I whispered mine too, words that felt like liberation. I am brave. I am playful. I am me. And in that frozen, glowing moment, under twinkling lights and falling snow, I felt the full weight and beauty of transformation. Not the kind that changes appearance, but the kind that changes soul, that turns fear into joy, doubt into courage, secrecy into connection. I had crossed a threshold, and nothing could take back the glow that now radiated from me. I looked down at the skirt swirling around my legs, the gloves glinting faintly in the lantern light, the ribbon pinned perfectly in my hair. Every detail felt alive, a celebration of choice, freedom, and delight. I had been timid, hesitant, unsure, but now, fully immersed in this magical moment, I understood something essential. The bravest adventures aren't about escaping reality. They're about embracing every delicate, shining part of yourself. And as the helpers cheered softly, tossing tiny snowflakes into the air, I laughed with abandon, my heart soaring. This Christmas, I hadn't just discovered a new side of myself. I had claimed it, danced with it, and shared it with the world. The night stretched on, a gentle blur of light, laughter, and snowflakes. And somewhere in the quiet spaces between giggles and whispers, I realized I had found a truth far greater than any costume or ribbon. I had found me. The night was deep now. The snow settled into a soft, sparkling blanket, and the golden lights from the tree cast long, gentle shadows across the clearing. I stood at the edge of the circle, taking a slow, steady breath, and for the first time, I didn't feel the need to rush or perform. The skirt around my legs swirled lightly in the evening breeze, the gloves glinting faintly, and the ribbon in my hair seemed to catch every flicker of light, reminding me that I had arrived somewhere I had never thought possible. The helpers gathered around, quiet now, just letting the magic of the moment sink in. One of them, older, wise, and warm, placed a gentle hand on my shoulder. "You've done more than just dress up," she said softly. "You've embraced yourself. And that is the greatest gift." Her words struck me like a gentle bell, clear and resonant. I realized she was right. All the fear, the hesitation, the hidden longing, it had all led to this night. And now, fully present, I could feel the weight lift, replaced by something lighter, brighter, and more genuine than I had ever known. I was not pretending. I was not performing. I was simply me, in all my whimsical, delicate, playful glory. A hush fell over the clearing, and for a moment, the world seemed suspended in magic. Then, as if on cue, one of the helpers reached into a small sack and pulled out tiny lanterns for everyone. Each of us held one, its warm light flickering softly, and together, we released them into the night sky. I watched mine drift upward, carried by the wind, and I felt a sense of peace settle deep into my chest. The light rose higher and higher, a symbol not just of hope, but of courage, joy, and acceptance. I smiled, truly smiled, the kind of smile that comes from inside, not from obligation or expectation. My reflection in the mirror from earlier flickered in my mind, and I realized I was still that same person, but so much more. Stronger, braver, freer. And in this community, surrounded by helpers who understood without explanation, I felt a profound sense of belonging I had never imagined. We laughed quietly, shared small jokes, and told little stories about our earliest moments of curiosity and delight. Every word, every gesture, reinforced the truth that had been building inside me all evening. There was nothing wrong with who I was. There was nothing to hide. The playful, delicate, whimsical side of me was not just acceptable, it was beautiful, and it deserved to shine. As the night wound down, the helpers began to depart, slipping quietly into the snowy streets, leaving me with the soft glow of lanterns and the glittering tree. I lingered, letting the warmth and magic of the evening seep into every fiber of my being. I touched the ribbon in my hair, the apron tied neatly, the gloves still perfect, and I realized that I had changed, not just in appearance, but in spirit. I had claimed a part of myself I had long kept secret, and in doing so, I had discovered a joy and freedom I had never known. Finally, I stepped inside, brushing snow from my skirts, heart full and head spinning with wonder. I glanced in the mirror one last time before bed. The reflection that looked back at me was soft, playful, radiant, and entirely, authentically me. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel the need to hide. I had faced fear, embraced delight, and found courage. I had discovered not just a magical Christmas night, but a new way of being. I sank onto the couch, the room filled with the lingering sense of pine and cinnamon, and let myself smile, content and peaceful. The world outside was quiet, covered in snow, sparkling under the faint glow of the streetlights. And inside me, a quiet, steady warmth glowed, a light that wouldn't fade, a memory of a night when I finally allowed myself to shine. This Christmas, I had not only played the part of a naughty sissy helper, I had lived it, celebrated it, and let it transform me from the inside out. And as sleep finally claimed me, I knew, without a shadow of doubt, that I would carry the magic of this night with me forever. I had found myself, truly and completely, and nothing could ever take that away.